Guys, this is probably weird to say because today was a red day, down 2.46%, but I'm actually super freaking jacked about the way that this worked out. Guys, what's up? What's up? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Trey back again for another freaking video. Like brothers by saying I'm not a financial advisor, not financial advice. Please take what I say with a grain of salt. Let's get into the video. So today we actually have a lot to discuss. There's a lot of stuff to go over here. And first and foremost is obviously going to be our girl, Amy. Amy had herself a red day, down 2.46%, but the importance of today actually stems from the way that it reacted to the red day. So I'm going to be talking about that in depth. This is sort of the agenda that I've got laid out for the day in order. We're going to start off here with AMC. I'm going to go over the calls because I think it is important that we keep a touch base on that, the levels that we're currently looking at, the bounce I want to talk about, and then we're going to move into the SPY. The SPY is a big factor. This is actually going to be a large portion of what I talk about today, so buckle in for a long video because there's a huge level that the S&P 500 is attempting to break right now. And if you see this thing break going into tomorrow, there's going to be some pretty nutty price action. And that's not just for blue chip stocks. That's going to contribute to AMC, I believe, GameStop, and a large list of other small mid-cap companies, probably specifically the weed stocks that pet you like a cat. Anyways, we're going to go over that and then the uncertainties that are currently existing in the market, which is going to contribute to the small mid-cap theory. Then we're going to touch on BBIG. I did say that I was going to touch on that here today, actually yesterday, and I didn't do it because I was white, man. I was so tired, I got to be honest. The emotional drain of just how much has been going on, it's wild. And then I'm going to talk about something that I'm actually going to be starting to do here. I'm going to talk about this in pretty decent detail once we get into it, which is daily setups. I'm going to be talking about calls, puts, daily plays that you can make on the side if you are interested in doing that, just based on what I think looks pretty decent. I'll give you some more details here in a bit. And then what I'm probably the most excited for is this, number 5. I've got an announcement that I'm going to be giving out sometime between Friday and Sunday, and that's probably about as much as I have to say about that, but I've been working on that for about a month now, and that's going to be pretty cool. So let's start off here with AMC, right? The calls. I talked about this in yesterday's video. This is really important. The $18 and the $20 strikes, there's a lot of current open interest that we'd like to see run in the money, and what I'm excited about today is you see this flush right at the open. And by the way, we've been fighting tooth and nail over the last 2-3 days to get each round dollar. And you basically just flushed it right here from 2040 all the way down to 1880 in the matter of an hour. Wild how that works, huh? Wild how sellers can gain control so quick. But what I'm excited about is the buying strength back up. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little sweaty. Looking at this this retracement because it happened so quickly, and it didn't look like there was going to be any buying pressure to push this thing back up. The good news is that you did get it. If you look at this on a 4-hour candle pattern, or even an hour, the hour is going to do you plenty good. You can see how solid this is. I mean, this is actually set up really nicely, and people who have been OGs who have been here for a while know exactly what kind of pattern this is. This is a big, fat, nasty, disgusting, filthy George W. setup within what appears to be sort of a micro bull flag. This is pretty picture perfect. I mean, you can't really complain about how this is looking right now. That 2040 level sort of being the pivot point. I think you crack over 2040, you're going to see some pretty decent moves. However, the big thing is the response in strength today. That's actually huge, and getting a continuation of a gamma ramp heading into next week. I think this is a big deal. I think it really is, despite it being a red day. And I think the red day, in part had to do with sort of the way that the SPY moved right at open. It did have a nice green day as things progressed. However, you can see that big flush and the gain back of strength is actually pretty critical. So I want to highlight that. I can't understate how important that bounce is, because if it didn't bounce here, you would have very likely seen this fall all the way back down to $16, $17, and then we would have been right back where we started, right? Also had pretty low volume on the day, total of about 68 million, which is good on a red day to see lower volume. That indicates that people who were buying as this was running up are actually holding on to their stock, and it means that you're likely to see this have some sort of a move. And this is actually pretty similar in theory to some moves that you saw before the decent sized run-ups that we've had. You look back here, a couple of rest day candles. That's what I'd consider today, a rest day, a consolidation day. You have some rest day candles here before decent size moves up. I would anticipate this is pretty similar to that exact thing. Does that mean we're going to see us run up to $80, 90, $100 in the next week, 2 weeks? I mean, I don't know. I do think you're setting up really nicely, and I don't think the volume pumping is a coincidence, but we got to take it a day at a time. And as things keep moving, I'll keep you guys updated. But that bounce was huge. And you guys should be very happy about that. So going into tomorrow, what you're watching for, in my opinion, IMO is at 2040 level. Crack over 2040 very quickly. You're going to see this thing move back up to that $22, $23 range. And from there, if it cracks, 27 to 30 is really the next spot that I'm watching. I mean, it's between sort of the bottom of this candle, $27, to about the top of here, which is about 30. And that'd be a pretty quick acceleration. So, Jack nipples, baby. It's a good day. That's good stuff to see. But what gets me more excited than that, and this is where I see the true potential, is the setup on the SPY right now. Now, check this out. The SPY is flat topped out right now. The cup and handle, upside level of support, breaking out of, this is the weirdest thing ever. I mean, this is really atypical to see a rising wedge go bullish. That's probably the 1 out of 10 times you see that happen. But nonetheless, it's riding an upside support coming into this flat top right here. Two different scenarios. One, the second test of the 450 level on the SPY is going to end up being a rejection, in which case you'll probably see it fall back down into this wedge that it's sort of forming up on this flat top. Could it be 446 or so, right? That's the bearish scenario. The best case scenario, and the one that I'm actually really hopeful for, if this happens, you guys are going to be really happy with the price action tomorrow. You can see this thing very quickly move the SPY up to 460. Now, Trey, why do I care? I don't touch the SPY. I'm not invested in the SPY. I don't trade calls. I don't trade puts on the SPY. Whatever. That's fine. You don't have to. You want to know why? The SPY reflects the entire market. And if the SPY, which reflects the entire market, is ripping, what do you think shorts feel inclined to do in small and mid-cap companies? This is exactly what I wanted to see coming into the next month and 2 months behind my small and mid-cap theory, which is that you're going to see a lot of shorts cover positions in small and mid-cap companies, including AMC, including GameStop, as the SPY recovers the shift from uncertainty to certainty. And you are watching that happen right now. The fear is slowly leaving the market. You do get little slaps right here. Boy. But those are few and far between, right? This is the true recovery. And a pop on the SPY from 450 up to 460, I can guarantee you, is going to move small mid-cap companies. Now, is AMC and GameStop going to be the leaders in that specific day? Who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, we got to take it for what it is. I can't guess percentages in dollars to the T, but it's going to make an impact. And this is a beautiful, beautiful setup that really could move our girl Amy in a positive way. Which brings me over to the uncertainties and certainties of the market. There really hasn't been much change. If anything, I would say you're still kind of clicking along on the rate hikes, right? The rate hike fears are starting to dimmer as time passes on. And I think really the only thing that you should be watching for, you should be fearful of, if anything, is that 50-point hike, right? Not much, in my opinion, IMO has changed. I think you'd see an initial price in. I think you'd see some initial fear if there's a 50-point hike announced. I did talk about this, but I don't really consider this to be anything of concern. We do know that the Fed right now is hawkish, meaning that they're going to be aggressive with trying to combat inflation. They're going to be aggressive with interest rate hikes. And it seems pretty premature. I don't think they're going to do this yet. And I think you're going to continue to see the market recover. So I'm pretty satisfied with the way that that's moving right now. The small mid theory, to me, I still stand by. I think at this point it's been about a week since I've touched on it, which will be about 3 weeks to a month and 3 quarters. I think you're going to watch small mids really move very nicely in that period of time. So keep your eye on that. If you got one eye like me, keep your one eye on that. If you got both, use them. Thirdly, BBIG. I haven't touched on this in a little bit. I do want to give you guys an update on what's happening. I laid out some levels to be watching for, right? I'd call them demand zones and supply zones. This is the supply zone. This is a gap fill / demand zone. And what you can basically see here on BBIG is it's just been channel trading back and forth. And every time it's tapped this box, it's rejected back down. The good news is there's a lot of strength in this because it hasn't come to try and test that gap fill spot yet. So I feel pretty decently confident that it's going to give this a fair shake unless, and this is the bear case scenario, I want to give you both, unless this was the fair shake and it's just going to say, well, we tried to break above that supply zone. Now we got to come back down to some lower lows until we feel comfortable coming back up to those mid threes or so. What gives me some confidence in saying, hey, you might actually see this break here in the next day or two is that it's hugging right beneath that supply zone, the red box, which is just an area in which you'd expect price to reject based on the way that algorithms buy and sell stock. It's hugging it. That's a really good sign. The strength, this higher low setup, higher low, higher low, higher low, is a good sign of continuation and strength. And I would honestly say it's sort of just a consolidation and a patience of the bulls. Volume is sticking around as well. And if you get to this breakthrough with a nice bar of volume, I would stand by the exact levels that I kind of pointed out before. I think those mid threes to $4 level is going to be what you're watching for. A crack over $4. You can very quickly see this gap fill up first to 460-ish or so. And then that could bring you up to the mid fives. And that's a pretty dang decent day. That'll put some hair on your chest. if you're a guy, if you're a girl, maybe you don't want hair on your chest. You just got to shave it. I don't know what to tell you, but I think this is still set up pretty nicely. So I'm satisfied with that. The next thing that I'd like to discuss, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it outside of the thought process behind my theory here, is every day that I think there's a decent play on the table to take a stab at, I'm going to introduce that at the end of my videos, which is basically going to be outlined as such. I'm going to give you a scenario for a ticker, a single ticker, in which I would take calls personally. I'm not telling you to buy, I'm not telling you to sell, and that I would take puts. And basically what I'm going to do is say, if this, then that. For both of these, right? If this, then that. Where I would take calls and puts on a specific stock. I'm also going to tell you which way I'm personally leaning. And for the ticker that I'm about to talk about, which is PayPal, I'm actually leaning calls based on a crossover and based on sort of a setup that you are watching take place right now. So you guys can look forward to that coming into future videos. If you're not interested, you can click off. That's totally cool. But I think it's an opportunity to be able to teach technical analysis through sort of live feedback. You're going to be able to watch the markets react to specific levels and zones outside of AMC, you know? So the ticker that I'm actually going to be talking about here today is PayPal. Now, why PayPal? Well, I have an announcement that I'm going to be giving you guys in the next 1 to 3 days or so. That's going to give you sort of an inclination as to why I've decided on PayPal. But I think there's some pretty decent opportunity here for a call. Now, you could play this both ways, right? If worst case scenario comes, just because something's set up bullish, just because there's a crossover, just because something's looking nice, doesn't mean it's not going to take the worst case scenario. So we're going to prepare you for both. What I am seeing here is very simple. You can see an upside level of support, and what you're doing here is connecting dots, right? There's a dot right here, dot right here, dot right here, and you see a downside level of resistance. Connecting dots. Check this out. Dot, 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 dot. Every time it's tapped on either of these lines, you've gotten a rejection. So there's a couple different ways that you can play this. If you want to channel trade this, if you want to take this basically based on bounces on each of these significant levels, the resistance and the support, you can trade it that way. You can trade it, let's just say that it rejects right here on the resistance. You could take a put all the way down to the call zone, which would basically be the top of this ascending level of support. You can exit. The way that I think this is more inclined to move, however, is a breakout. Now, where I would personally be taking a call heading into tomorrow, there's two scenarios that I can kind of see panning out. One of them is that PayPal has a gap up. I think that PayPal would have a gap up if the SPY gaps up. I think that's a decently likely scenario. I've seen this happen with the SPY before, where there's a flat top breakout point, it gaps up above that and then just rockets to the moon. If you see a gap up on the SPY, I think that's worth getting a dip buy for a call, as I would expect continued momentum throughout the day. The second scenario is that it doesn't gap up. And if it does not gap up, PayPal, I would take an entry on a break, a clean break of that downside level of resistance. Break of resistance. And I don't have a lot of lines drawn up, and that's for a reason. I think you can keep this extremely simple and just look at the charts and be patient and take the setup when it comes and play that as is. In terms of where I would be looking to enter, I just mentioned this. If it gaps up, I would look to buy on some form of a dip out of that gap up. It would probably look something like this. You see it gap up, moves out. Let's just say it open and get like a 5-10 minute flush. I'd be looking to buy a dip on that based on perhaps a demand zone. Well, if it gaps up and it's looking for a demand zone, this looks pretty promising. I'd imagine you could see a demand zone here. I'd imagine you could see a demand zone here. There's a couple different ways that you can look at it. And demand zone, I do have a video on that if you'd like to check that out, which could help you a decent chunk. It's called Stock Market Hack. You can just look up Stock Market Hack Trey. It's going to pop up. You watch this video and it's going to walk you through that pretty crystal clear. But the more likely to me is that it's just going to break. And if it does break out of this this downside level of resistance, I would just take an entry on the break. It's that simple. Keep it tight stock, 10, 15, 20%, whatever you're comfortable with, and take a re-entry for a call if the opportunity presents itself. And if it doesn't, that's the risk associated, you know? But this is a pretty clean setup. I think that people are going to be able to make money on PayPal. And if you want to give it a shot, feel free to do so. I think the opportunity is there. And I wish you the best, genuinely. Last thing that I've got, and then we'll send you on your way. I know this is a long video. I just had a lot to discuss. I've got an announcement coming sometime between tomorrow and Sunday. And this is a project, actually, that I've been working on for quite some time with my guys. We've dumped a lot of hours into it. We've dumped a couple $1,000s into it to provide you guys with something for absolutely free that I think you guys are going to dig quite a lot. I'm actually pretty happy about this. We back tested it. It looks pretty filthy, man. So expect some form of an announcement coming in the next couple days. I'll walk you through sort of what it is. And yeah, I suppose that's about it. So boys, girls, apes, if there's any takeaway for the day, we had ourselves a beautiful day. Believe it or not, you know, I know that AMC was down on the day. It was down 2.5%. The bounce off of that flush at the open is the best case scenario outside of going from red to green. This is a really, really good sign of strength and continuation potential for the bulls here, for the apes here, as things keep moving. You guys have been patient. You guys have been waiting very patiently. We've been waiting very patiently for a long time for this to happen, for this potential setup. And while we're not guaranteed to see this be a monstrous move in the next week or 2 weeks, it's setting up with the potential to have it, right? So expect the worst. Hope for the best. Let's hope to see a good green SPY day tomorrow, because that is going to influence the way that AMC trades. It's going to influence the way the algorithms buy and sell things. And I think everyone's going to walk away pretty happy on the weekend. And that's what I've got for this video. So, guys, I hope you all had a good one. I actually don't work tomorrow, so we'll see what we got going on. I'll stop out and, I'll probably be pretty active. So I'll catch you all later. Much love, light taps, and peace.